Hogyha érdekel a kriptogaming vagy a SUI ökoszisztéma, esetleg mindkettő, akkor a most következő interjút mindenképp érdemes lesz végignézned. Hosszas egyeztetést követően végre sikerült leülnöm Jordan Walsh-sel, aki a LuckyCat Studios játékfejlesztő cég marketingvezetője. Jordantől megtudtuk, hogy mi lesz a cég következő nagy dobása, meg azt is, hogy hogyan érdemes ehhez pozícionálni magunkat. A LuckyCat az egyik legfontosabb projekt a SUI gaming kategóriában, és ők indították el a Kumu NFT-ket, meg hozzájuk kötődnek az olyan játékok is, mint a Panzerdogs vagy a Cosmocadia. Hamarosan indítják a saját ökoszisztéma tokenjüket, a Kobant, illetve érkeznek a gaming nódok is, Jordan pedig elárulta azt is, hogy hogyan tudunk majd részt venni az előértékesítésben. Szóval baromi érdekes lesz ez a közel 40 perces beszélgetés, és nem csak azoknak, akik nyakig benne vannak a SUI-ban. Ilyen jellegű videót eddig még, legalábbis ilyen hosszút még nem készítettünk, és az, hogy össze-vissza nézelődök, nem azért van, mert megőrültem, hanem mert folyamatosan csekkolgattam, hogy minden megfelelően működik-e. Remélem tetszeni fog a videó, és azt is remélem, hogy találsz majd benne olyan hasznos infót, amit végül majd profitra is tudsz váltani. Mielőtt belevágnánk a beszélgetésbe, még egy gyors kérdés, illetve kérés. Próbáljuk megtalálni a legjobb formátumot az ilyen jellegű tartalmakhoz, ezért arra kérlek titeket, hogy írjátok meg, minek örülnétek inkább. Valami olyasminek, mint ez a mostani interjú is, teljes hosszúságában, megvágva és feliratozva, vagy inkább egy tömörebb, 10-15 perces verzió, amiben kiemeljük a lényeget. Persze a tömörebb verzió alatt elhelyeznénk egy linket a teljes beszélgetéssel is vágatlanul, viszont feliratok nélkül. Szóval írjátok meg, mit szeretnétek inkább, most pedig jöjjön a beszélgetés. Hi Jordan, thank you for taking your time, and it's great to have you here, to be honest.
Thank you so much.
I'm pretty sure that lots of our followers already know who you are from the Kumo Discord and from Panzerdogs and from Cosmocadia. But for those who don't, could you tell us a bit about yourself and about your role at the LuckyCat Studio?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Jordan. I work for LuckyCat Studios. For those who don't know or might know it, we're the creators behind Kumo the Cat, Panzerdog, Cosmocadia, and over 100 different games developed on the mobile and iOS App Store. So for myself, I started off in LuckyCat 2 years ago, where I joined on as community management for just Panzerdogs, and I mean, I can get into it later. But from that point onwards, I just had the drive. I love community creation. I love games, love Web3. All those different elements combined just made LuckyCat a very attractive place for me to join. And over the last 2 years, I mean, I've helped shape Cosmocadia with its mint. Also helped create Kumo the Cat, of course. That's one big thing that we'll get into later. And now our Takibi gaming protocol that we're making too. So I went from just a community manager on Discord, like, you know, making memes, making announcements, to hosting tournaments, selling out mint collections, making branding for mascots, for gaming protocols too. So I kind of opened up my skill set more. But yeah, people may know me as just a Discord moderator, but there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that, yeah, I'm happy to share. But that's a little bit about me and what I do. So marketing, game marketing, graphic design, branding, community management, and a lot more fun stuff.
Everything else that comes in your way. And you are also quite active on the Telegram groups. So I think you don't sleep as much.
Exactly. I think like if you work in marketing or any sense of marketing or community, you're also immediately BD, business development also, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just one thing. If you know how to sell a project, how to pitch a project, where potential synergies and collabs come into. Yeah. So the idea that Web3 never sleeps, I feel is one thing about being in the community side of it, but if you work in it, like it's that times 10.
I know that you are already working at LuckyCat for like 2 years, if I'm right, and you are the game marketing lead. That's the actual title, and I think that puts you in a great position to understand the whole evolution of the studio, because it was like phases after phases after phases. How could you describe the transformation of the LuckyCat Studios? What do you think? Where is the goal, the end goal, or where the studio is aiming at?
Very good question. So I joined LuckyCat when we were like kind of very much in the momentum of Web3. We already had one Web3 product out. But originally, as you said, we started off as a Web 2 hyper casual gaming studio where we were making games just on iOS and Android. And we scaled up, like, so what started out as a team of two, now is a team of 20 plus, right? And we scaled up our games and got to over 250 million downloads in the App Store. And after that point, we noticed that the model in making games, just like in traditional gaming, Web 2 gaming metrics on the App Store, that monetization method was going down. There was a lot less viewership. The ad models came in. We just noticed that there was an abstraction basically there of what was making fun games. And then we found in 2021 Web3, right, that we decided to go in with our title Panzer Dogs. In 2022 came the ideation of Cosmocadia, going on to Sui. 2023, then we had like Kumo. 2024 also Kumo, and like the games just evolved. And in mid 2024, we were getting ready to launch our token Koban, right? So we had two games where this token was going to power it. And ultimately, we had this big backlog of 100 games that we've developed, and we were like, why should not we bring these in forward? And then we're like, okay, let's make a gaming ecosystem with Lucky Cat that uses this token. We just have to kind of revamp and Web3ify the previous games. And then suddenly we were like, wait, we've made a lot of games. We know the barriers of entry. We know what we struggle at. Like, I mean, we've had a lot of downfalls too. We've had a lot of pitfalls. We made a lot of mistakes, you know, things that could have been better, things that we didn't know, because ultimately we're building in an industry with not many standards anymore. In the Web 2 mobile industry, there was so many standards, but in Web 3, there's not. You're the one creating the standard, right? And ultimately from then we were like, we should make a protocol and tools to make game development easier. Instead of just having a token that's powering two games and our previous backlog, why don't we allow Web 2 native studios or someone else who's making a game to implement our token? Let's make an ecosystem. So that led into where we are now, currently making the gaming protocol. We also made a mascot to tie in the studio together as well. So that's kind of present day to give context. But for future, the protocol is going to be the future of gaming because we're kind of redefining the industry standards again, right? So games are going to be able to deploy faster, deploy cheaper, deploy scalable games within an ecosystem that brings so much exposure to. So that's definitely the direction of where Lucky Cat is going. What once started out as making cute, friendly mobile games turned into making games with NFTs, which now turned into making games at a token ecosystem level, right? So overall, what started as game development is now us bringing developers into the future with us and creating the next generation of gaming.
I see. So it's totally cool. I'm on board with that, 100%. I think it's not really public info, or I'm not sure. But I think it's really important that who actually founded the Lucky Cat Studios?
So our original founder was called Herchi, and Herchi together with his brother, right? Like they had like interest in games and finance, and they were like, they had like a life experience where they were in the hospital together. There was a bad situation, and they were like, you know what, we should make games together. That was in 2014 going into 2015. And from that experience, they decided to put their expertise together and start creating titles. And one of the first titles, for example, was they took the internet cat Grumpy Cat, which was very famous back in 2000 to 2010s. They found a lot of viral cats, right? And they made games based off this IPs, which was not very done. But like at that time, there was not many like IP integrations in games, right? It was still mobile gaming, especially, was such a new industry. And from that, our two founders then scaled up. They onboarded more people into the company. We started making more mobile games to the point where it got to making over 100 mobile games and scaling up those 250 million
It's
downloads.
crazy.
Right?
When I first heard about it, I thought these are like backlogs from different companies that were, built before and just bought and stuff like that. And it actually turned out that you actually built that 100 games from scratch.
Exactly. And then the portfolio gets even bigger because so we were founded in 2015, then jumped to 2021, where we were acquired by Fragbite Group. And this is our mother company. And under Fragbite Group, they have a lot of other gaming studios within them. One of the most known being PlayDigits, for example, who make the game Dead Cells, some people might know. And like, so now we're a part of a mother company. We have a way bigger portfolio of games. So it's not just Lucky Cat, it's also PlayDigits, it's also all these other studios. And with that led to the decision, like our previous CEO, going into the Web3 direction, and we made Panzer Dogs. Then we were building on Solana actually back in the day, and then we heard about Sui, and we were like, okay, we're making another game. Like we definitely knew after Panzer Dogs we wanted to make another Web3 game, and that led to the ideation of Cosmocadia. And we were looking at Sol, we were looking at ETH, but then we got approached about a new chain called Sui. And I mean, the way Sui was described from a game developer perspective, dynamic NFTs is ultimately the way to go, because all gamers want customization, right? You want to move your items, you want to have an inventory with different assets. And I mean, also then, if you want to mass adopt into the gaming industry, you need to have something like lower gas fees. You're not going to onboard the next billions of gamers like with having to pay what you pay on ETH, for example.
Paying $60 for
exactly, right? You can buy a full game with that. You can buy a full game just for transferring shoes, as you said. So ultimately, we decided then, of course, Sui was the best way to go. We started building Cosmocadia. We were a launch partner with Sui for that. Then our devs were like, okay, we have to bring Panzer Dogs over. We have to migrate a game from Sol to Sui, which is a whole ordeal in itself. And look at today, now we see kind of the direction. And in that period then, our former CEOs, like they contributed so much to the company and they wanted to go on to their next adventure. And that's where Zara became our CEO, who you may have met before or just seen on the timeline. So that was the kind of transition over to CEO. And I mean, Zara has over 13 years experience in blockchain. She's done game releases, token releases, product releases. You know, she has a PhD in blockchain, which is so new for itself. So Zara was
I didn't even know that it exists something like that.
Me neither until Zara said. Right?
First I thought it's something like an inside joke, you know, at her Twitter profile, and it turned out it's a thing.
Right? And I think we very much see that with Zara's ideas. Zara is such a visionary, you know, like she's the first of making things, like with the gaming protocol, what we're making, it's the first of this to kind of go out there into the world. So yeah, ultimately then that's where Zara took over from her previous CEO, Hershey. And since then, we've been building with Zara, and Zara is very visionary in the Web3 space too. So that's a bit of how like we kind of went from Web2, different founders, Web3. So we have a big history, but it's like full of culture, full of different landmarks, milestones, and we're just always on a rise, basically.
Yeah, for sure. We first connected during the early days of Kumo. I think the NFT, even the NFT, it was before the NFT mint, like months before the NFT mint, and you were super excited, of course, because you already knew that we didn't, that what's coming to the ecosystem, and since then things just accelerated massively, and I know it's a lot to ask, but can you briefly touch on all projects and products about Lucky Cat Studios and what you are building? I think we could start with the games like Panzer Dogs and Cosmocadia, because that's the backbone.
Yeah, I'll go with the games. I think I'll just go in order of release. Okay. So Panzer Dogs is our first game that we started working on and released in 2021, because we were seeing that there was not many games on Sol at the time. And to start off, we launched 5,555 avatar NFTs, which sold out in like 15 minutes. It was a very, very fast mint on Sol. And then we released the first demo of the game. To give reference, Panzer Dogs is a PvP tank brawler game where people are playing as dogs. You can fight in a custom unique tank. You can have multiple different playing strategies. It's an online game too. So of course, like you needed someone on your team who's good at defense, someone who's good at attack. You can have many different strategies in there. And since then, we've been building new game modes for Panzer Dogs. We've also released like tank NFT collections. We've been doing partnership tournaments with other Sui projects. So for example, like there's like other Sui projects IP in Panzer Dogs. We hosted a grand scale tournament last year.
Been there, done that. I finished like, I don't know, 2000 something.
I mean, like Panzer Dogs players are serious gamers, you know, like
it was super competitive. I was calculating that I should play like 6 to 8 hours per day to be in even the top 100. So I was like, can't do that.
that was the grinding culture of it, right? And that's where Panzer Dogs is really positioned as like a full-fledged Web3 title. There is Web2 access, so like basically when you make an account in Panzer Dogs, a custodial wallet is made for you, so you essentially don't need to know Web3 blockchain. You can just go to have a fun game.
That's a big thing.
right? That's a huge thing for onboarding. But with the competitive game and the kind of very masculine-based game that's actually based off one of our previous games, Thunder Dogs, I'll get into that later. But Panzer Dogs was a reskin of an old game into Web3. Then came our next title where we were like, we actually want to make the game that onboards the masses into the future of gaming, right? Let's just remove the title Web3. And that's where Cosmocadia came in, which is a cozy city builder game. Think like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing. Yeah, but essentially with Cosmocadia, we wanted to hit different target audiences because, like, for the example, the Web3 audience is very much more male dominated, like certain age demographic. And for Cosmocadia, we wanted to make a game that's not only for that demographic, but also for younger people, for also like more children, for female audiences, so on. And that's when we started building this cold and cute, cozy game. Cosmocadia is still in beta. We currently are letting our community play the game monthly to give us feedback, have governance on features, win NFTs. We launched Islands Collection, which will be a future DLC of new areas to unlock in the game. And we also launched an avatar collection, which is in-game avatars. But essentially the core of Cosmocadia is to gather resources, build a town, build a very cozy place. So next after Cosmocadia comes Koban, which is our ecosystem token. It's a utility token that you can use across all of our games. I'll touch upon that later. And then after that comes Kumo, our mascot, which I think is like the shining star of Lucky Cat. And the reason why we made Kumo the cat was because people knew us as Panzer Dogs, people knew us as Cosmocadia. A lot of people didn't know us as Lucky Cat. And we were like, okay, we want to be a brand as a gaming company. We don't want to just be this one Web3 game or this one random game. You know, we want to be known as an umbrella term, basically. And we were like, okay, we need a mascot. We need something cute. Of course, like something within the cat realm. It's in our name. And that was the birth of Kumo. And we were like, we want to make an IP project too alongside this, right? We want to have the games, but we always say at Lucky Cat we make entertaining products. And I mean, Kumo was a no-brainer for us. So Kumo is our cute, clumsy cloud mascot. It's our newest launch. We launched last September officially, but we stealth launched in August. And Kumo has 2,222 dynamic NFTs. So we're fully utilizing Sui's technology on Kumo as well as Panzer Dogs and Cosmocadia. And with Kumo, you can dress up your avatar. And since then, we started releasing plushies. So we have merch. It's also alpha, I guess, but we have gaming products coming too. We have big IP partnerships coming, a lot more merchandise coming too. So Kumo is a very IP project and has become a blue chip project on Sui, being trending, big volume, so on. Yeah, so Kumo has became kind of the PFP. So we had the gaming audience and now we reached the kind of NFT DeFi also audience with Kumo too. So that's
you switched. You switched before. Normally, or I think it's much more traditional when you first launched the PFP and then the game, and you just switched. I like it.
we're always doing something new, you know. But yeah, so that's Kumo. Kumo is like the shining star. Kumo has gained a lot of traction, a lot of momentum, and I mean, there's so much more to come. And then the last product, what we're building, I kind of mentioned it a bit earlier, is we're building a gaming protocol called Takibi. And on Takibi, basically, we're making developing games easier, no barriers of entry. So let's say you want to develop a game or you're currently developing a game, you can use a plugin, basically, which gives you a range of tools. So you can implement servers in your game, which sometimes can take so long, or rendering, or you can turn your assets into NFT collections too, and so much more. So we're removing a lot of the barrier entries and the pain points into game development with our Takibi protocol. So that's the kind of gaming side, and any game that joins the Takibi protocol will be able to integrate our Koban token, which I said earlier on as well. And alongside that, with Takibi, we're also making a user-centric hub too. So it's not just making game development easier for developers, but also we're going to have a community hub. And in this community hub, you can see like all the games that are in the ecosystem, all the assets that are interoperable, all the places that you can use the Koban coin to spend in-game marketplaces. You can have an account, earn achievements, unlock rewards, get eligible for airdrops too. But yeah, that's just a brief introduction to all the products that we're making. And I mean, there's much more coming, but they're the main four.
There was a lots of things that you mentioned. Can we dig a bit deeper with the Kumo NFTs? You already mentioned that these are dynamic NFTs. Can you give me an example of how these NFTs could especially powerful in crypto gaming?
Yeah, 100%. So essentially what dynamic NFTs, it says in the word. So like I think let's start at the base of the word, which is NFT. And as we know, traditional NFTs are just static images, JPEGs if you wish, right? Where traditionally in Web3 sense, if a project is releasing an NFT collection, you go, you mint one, you get a random allocated image. If you want another, let's say, profile photo or whatever the utility use case is of this NFT, you're going to go to a secondary marketplace and buy the one you like, which may be a gamble. You might only like the one part of the, right? You might like a certain trait on a certain
Yeah.
NFT, and that can sometimes cost you a lot of money too. So where dynamic NFTs is the outlier is this is introduced through Sui's development language Move. And Move essentially allows an object model for customizable NFTs. So instead of having, let's say you go and you mint an NFT and it looks perfect, but you hate the eyes on it, for example.
Yeah.
Since it's dynamic, each individual attribute and trait can be swapped. So now suddenly with my NFT, I can take off this t-shirt, I can buy a different one and I can equip it. Or I can buy a full NFT, take all the individual parts off and customize myself. So dynamic NFTs allow for a lot of customization for users. I mean, which in the Web3 space I think was missing for a long time, right? People just accepted NFTs, they became a part of their lifestyle, their PFP, their branding. But now with the Move language, you can actually change how it looks, which is a big thing. Also in gaming, customization is one of the biggest things that a player wants, right? So that's a little bit like what dynamic NFTs are, but like I mean with Sui's dynamic NFTs, you can do so much more too. So you can have individual traits or individual attributes that like you can level up, right? With that model. Like so basically you could have like a set of eyes, and if you do a certain amount of actions or an XP, whatever, you can level it up to level 2 and it can visually change also. So with dynamic NFTs, you just have a lot more freedom for creativity within your project, whether you're a game or just a PFP collection.
Yeah, I really like the concept. I already tried different things with my Kumo NFTs because, I stripped every NFT and started to build back. And after a while, it came out that I could actually build a legendary rarity based on other traits from different Kumos. I think it's a really cool concept, and also that's a very smart thing that when Coin Fever has announced the partnership, they dropped some specialty traits for Kumo holders. I like this so much. It's so much fun, and it changes everything around how we interact with NFTs. I think it's gonna be huge.
And I think the biggest part is it makes suddenly something that was so small into such a scalable effort. Like for Kumo, we don't need to make the supply of the base NFT bigger, right? We can always
Yeah.
keep that at 2000, but we can introduce more traits, and that allows you to do a lot more IP partnerships, a lot of cross collaboration. Like for example, let's say if for Lucky Cat we're releasing a new game, Kumo can get just an airdrop or like something of a new part that represents a character in a game, and you can market way better with something like this, or you can do NFT
For
collections, and
sure.
suddenly things are not boring anymore. You can keep adding upon dynamic NFTs. And I mean, I want to ask a question back to you because it's cool that you like have tried it out and you've tested out like the potential of it. Like, how did it feel for you to suddenly have an NFT that you could make custom to you? Did it make it feel more special to you, or what was your experience with that?
First it was super weird because that's not how NFTs work. But after a while and after a bit of experimenting, I was like, it was like an hey moment that actually I can build my NFTs how I would like to represent myself on the internet or in Web3, and I can even change, and there's a whole different marketplace for that. So I think NFTs were like, you know, a cube of things, and now it's like 1,000 cubes. You can do whatever you want, and the transaction fees for changing and building are so small or so low that it's a no-brainer. If you want to change anything, you won't even consider it. On the other side, if you use something like this at the Ethereum blockchain, it will cost you like an arm and a leg. so
I-
so it's a
If you
game
wanted to
changer.
like what you like what you said, right? Turning your normal Kumo into a legendary. If you wanted to do that in somewhere like ETH, you'd be spending at least one ETH to do
Yeah,
it, you
yeah,
know? It would cost you so much
actually.
money. And I mean, it's again, that's why it's not scalable there. And I think you said it best, right? Like NFTs were just a box, and now suddenly with dynamic NFTs, that box becomes like it has more dimensions to it. It becomes a hexagon, it becomes a
Yeah,
different shape entirely, and it becomes
layers
an
and
open shape.
layers. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, Kumo also like with that, right? Like we have big plans. I can kind of tell a little bit about what the future, like we're definitely doing another equipment collection, right? So we're doing a themed Kumo collection where you have new eyes, new bodies, new like
Oh,
pieces that
sign
you
me
can
up
attach
for
to your
that.
Kumo.
For sure.
And it's a part of a big partnership. If you look through our socials, you can maybe tell in between. But also with each new collection, we're updating the art of Kumo too. So Kumo innately is cute right now. There's a lot of cute traits, but where the future of Kumo going, it's going a lot more detailed too. I can say that with the next kind of equipment collection. It's more detailed and it hits a certain audience as well. So we don't want Kumo to
Mm.
just have like a certain cutesy look. We also want that a bit more edge to Kumo. Maybe we'll do just a cutesy one next time. Maybe we do a more animal-esque one or one related to our games. You know, we have so many alleyways to go into and so much audience to hit up as well. And yeah, so again, the scalability is what makes it so fun and the opportunities for partnerships.
Yeah, actually, that was the first thing that attracted me to the whole project. It was based on Sui, and I already knew that Sui, how it's working and what is the benefit of using the move language and stuff like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
man, if you will build games on this blockchain, it's going to be so much different than having games on Ethereum or Solana or something like that. So that was the first point of addiction for me.
100%. I mean, like with Panzer Dogs, we already have it in the game that you can like equip things, right? So, like a good example is we made Panzer Dogs collection also fully dynamic. Thing with Panzer Dogs was we already had an existing NFT collection that people had to migrate from Soul to Sui. Then they had to migrate that existing collection again to be dynamic, right? So that's like a learning point that we learned is like, of course, we didn't know our collection would be dynamic in 2021. Dynamic
Yeah.
NFTs were not even a thing in 2021, right? But that's like another learning point that we made. So basically, for example, when we're making this gaming protocol, that's like one bit of advice we'll tell people, even if you're just making a small game, we're like, we recommend you to include dynamic fields because once you make your smart contracts, it's in. Otherwise, you have to migrate a collection and then you've multiple on marketplaces.
Yeah.
But anyway, with Panzer Dogs, like with that big tournament we done, the Sui Smackdown, where we had all these different IPs in, because our collection was dynamic, we were able to have esports jerseys of each different project in each different team, right? So we had like the Studio Mirai, we had the FUD the Pug, we had all that. So now people, even if you didn't own an NFT, you could still equip that NFT on your base avatar, which would turn it all into an NFT itself, right? And there's just so much more. People were able to relate to their team. There was sportsmanship. There was, that real esports feeling,
Yeah.
which you see in, for example, like games like Fortnite. And that's what kind of makes people feel at one with the game. And for example, then with Cosmocadia coming in, right? This is the game where we want to mass adopt people. If people have to go through things, signing transactions, if people can't customize, the mass gamers are going to leave because any other game that's off chain or Web 2 you can just do these easily. But now with the future of dynamic NFTs, we can do all these things and sign the transactions on our own in the custodial wallets behind the scenes and let gamers play and own their assets, right? So not only are you owning your time, you're owning your avatar, but you're also owning that like one of 10 hat that only certain gamers have. And you're bringing in these in-game economies, these in-game trading. So dynamic NFTs just make that so much more scalable and so much more attractive on the game design element as well.
Yeah, I was promoting the NS team, but it was like we were so behind because Studio Mirai and it was like they were crazy. They were always in the game fighting, no matter what time I connected. They were like always there, and I was like, "Come on, man! You can't put like 20 hours per day into this game." But they did actually.
I mean, even from that also, like that was the cool thing of seeing like some communities come in and really like kind of saying, okay, we're gonna win this, we're
Yeah,
gonna beat this up. And like that's also for our next tournament. I mean, that's also another thing where we're not perfect. We've learned a lot of learnings that if a certain team doesn't have many people online, we have more balancing systems in to make sure
yeah,
that comes to play. But I mean, that's the fun thing, right? That's where you see dynamic NFTs bringing communities together through games, right? That's the prime example you've seen of it on Sui. And I mean, that was like our kind of guinea pig. That was our testing point of going forward,
yeah,
right? And like a lot of these things, as I said earlier, there's no standard for any of this. For what we did with Kumo, like the way we did the Kumo mint was not by any other NFT standards, right? That was we stealth launched, no one knew it was us. We did the mint in 3 different phases, two free, one paid. Panzer Dogs, we did this esports tournament which had multiple different IP teams. And that's the thing at Lucky Cat, we're always really trying to innovate and do something fresh that hasn't been done before. But with doing that, you're gonna make mistakes. Like you're gonna have mess ups. Like for example, with Panzer Dogs now, the fact that we have a normal NFT collection there and then a dynamic one, and people have to understand, okay, I have to buy this normal one and migrate it over and stuff. There are learnings that we've learned, and we will not do them again in the
yeah.
future. So, to be innovative, you have to make mistakes, and that's one thing that we really say at Lucky Cat, and that's why the gaming protocol makes so much sense. We have so much knowledge that we want to share and prevent other people in the industry from making these different mistakes, whether you're gaming, whether you're just an NFT project like Kumo, so on.
I would I would ask like 100 different questions about Kumo as well because I'm like neck deep. But I'm also curious about the Koban token because Koban is launching really soon, like in a couple of things, like days. I'm not sure. Why should people would want to hold the Koban token? What are the benefits for Kumo NFT holders or Panzerdog players? What is the game plan for Koban?
What I'll say with this is we're very honest about what the token is going to do. And Koban at its heart is a long-term token. Koban isn't a token that's just going to come out, have utility in one game, and move on. Koban is something for life. And as I said, we're building this gaming protocol where games come in, they develop on our protocol, and they integrate the token. So suddenly your Koban holdings have access, you can use it in Panzer Dogs, you can stake, you can spend, everything else. You can move that over to Cosmocadia, play that game. You can move that over to game X, Y, A, B, C, so on. So now your Koban token has utility in so many different games, which in itself is amazing too. But at Lucky Cat, we're not just also focusing on the games as well. Koban has also, it's on the Takibi protocol, is going to have DeFi integration too. So there's going to be trading of Koban within different game economies too. So we're not only focusing on the gamer, we're focusing also on the DGen, on the NFT project too. And with Koban, it's also going to have spending ability to buy certain things for Kumo, or if I'm to give a bit of alpha, leveling up something for Kumo, right? So now Koban has utility in games. It's going to have utility in tools connected to our IP, and it's also going to be integrated with other platforms or things. For example, I'm just going to give an example, very brief, very high level. Don't quote me on this. We've spoke to someone where in their place, you can use Koban as a form of payment to purchase stuff in IRL too. So suddenly, this is not just a gaming utility token. It's going to be something mass scales. And so that's why, and again, the longer we start, we're developing in public, so everything is very transparent. You see if something's delayed, if something comes out, if something, and we have multiple different communication channels. Each month, Koban gets new utilities in game. Koban gets new utilities in real life places. You're going to have the most long-term token that you can have, thanks to Lucky Cat. And that's why we're not going to just say, like, we don't want Koban to be some pump and dump and then it's gone. No. And the best thing is, right, with the gaming protocol, let's say focusing on the gamers, if one game dies because they can't sustain themselves, that doesn't mean your value of Koban is gone. There's 100 other games or even more that you can still use it into. So suddenly, if like something has to go wrong with one project, you can still have it in others, and that's what makes Koban special. So I would say it's even more than a utility token powering an ecosystem. It's like a life token in so many different ways for so many different users. So that's why we're so excited about Koban too. It's again changing the game of how things are done, changing industry standards as well.
Super cool. You already mentioned Takibi before. Could you explain what it is and what you are aiming to build with Takibi?
Exactly. So Takibi at its core is a gaming protocol, and it's a development stack for game developers to use to ease back, like to make game development easier, faster, cheaper, and more accessible. So what this means is for non-game developers, to give a bit more of an idea, let's say I'm planning to make a game. Making a game has a lot of different aspects in it. It's not just like coding and making art and then putting things together and selling. You also have to publish a game. You also have to have data protection in game. You need to have storage in games also where your assets are going to go, especially if it's on chain. You have to have also things like inventory management, all these like different back end servers for games. Games are so multifaceted, and a lot of people wonder why games take so long. You have all these extra aspects, and that's what slows down game development. So essentially what we're making is a plugin. You take a plug, you put it into your game, and suddenly all these things are done for you. You can have a no code experience for a percentage of your game, and this speeds up the development process immediately. And with that as well, you also are going to be able to turn different. I just seen balloons coming up on your screen.
I don't know what's happening.
The
I'm not
screen got
sure.
excited, but the screen loves Takibi.
Yeah,
But
it wasn't me.
no,
It
also,
wasn't me. It must be something you mentioned. I don't know what was the keyword or the password for that.
but other than that, then also what the Takibi protocol does with the plugin, you can make different assets in your game into NFT collections or dynamic NFT collections too. Normally for that, you need a Web3 developer. You need to make smart contracts. You need to have your contracts audited. You need to do NFT mints and collections. Suddenly, you don't have to do any of that. You simply tell us what you want to do. There's a plugin, you put it into the system, and suddenly all of your assets become NFTs. So what once would take months of development, depending on the scale of your game, you
Wow.
can do easy. So that's why Takibi is really changing the game. And you can see we've talked to so many Web 2 games who are interested in Web 3, but won't move over because they don't have the resources to build to hire a Web 3 dev. They don't have someone who is willing to learn, so on. And there's not many Web 3 devs as it is. And so that's like from the gaming standpoint, what Takibi protocol is at its core. As I brought up also earlier, Takibi has a community platform too. So on the community platform, you can have an account, you can discover all games, you can also discover dApps, you can level up, you can earn achievements, you can kind of in-game marketplace, that's a bit of alpha too, where you can purchase different items from different games using Koban. And the thing is about all these games that come into the ecosystem, they're all interconnected. So they will all utilize the use case of Koban in-game. They will also have interoperable assets. So what is a tank in Panzer Dogs becomes a sword in Cosmocadia, becomes XYZ in all these other games too. So we're making a gaming ecosystem that makes game development easier, and we're building it bigger for the community. Web3 gaming is still so small. So Takibi is revolutionary, and Takibi means bonfire in Japanese. And what we want to do is we want to build a bonfire. We want to add fuel to the flame, make the flames of Web3 gaming and just have no barriers. So that's why we're telling people, come join the campfire. The more people that join and the more resources that are added to the bonfire, the warmer it is and the better it is for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. My last question, because we are already like over time. That's always happening with me. So we are slowly reaching the end of our time. And I know you will have an interesting meeting just in a couple of minutes. So I already know that because Zara mentioned it before, that Takibi will offer some kind of opportunities for node operators, if I'm not wrong. And if yes, how should people prepare for it? What is the alpha for this?
Yeah. So, of course, normally what you see with protocols or products, they normally launch nodes first, right? You normally start with a node sale, then you see a token sale, then you go on to have the mainnet of the product. For this, we're actually launching Koban first, then Takibi, then nodes. That's the kind of, we said that we're going to do nodes, and of course, nodes support the ecosystem too. All I'll say is, I'm limited to what I can say here. but you're going to be owning parts of Takibi. You own like a piece of wood in the bonfire that keeps it lighting out, and that's going to result, of course, in earning rewards from the ecosystem. You're going to own a lot in comparison to any other protocol too. You're a part of it. You're running it. It's going to be community based ran, so that's also what the games that are coming into. All I'll say is stay tuned to our social media, and as I said at Lucky Cat, we don't do things in order. We don't follow the rule books. We create our own. So stay tuned. You'll see more about nodes. Focus now, Koban, then nodes.
Super, super. Thank you for that, and thank you for taking the time to join us. And I really hope we will meet in person soon in the SUI base camp in Dubai.
Yes.
So thank you, and talk soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on here. I mean, there's 300 more things I could have said. Lucky Cat is such a multifaceted thing, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're having so much fun building, talking to creators like yourself. And I mean, without the community, we wouldn't be who we are today also. So I just want to say thank you for bringing us on here, for the support also from your end, for especially supporting Panzerdogs, Kumo, Cosmocadia. And also just, happy to make a part 2 where I have better Wi-Fi. I think that will be the comeback. That's when we'll talk about nodes. But thank you so much for having us on here. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Jordan.